the creativity is and the work and the output is getting better. I think people are starting to understand the power of in-house. I think more creatives are open to going in-house. I think we all see how advertising is changing and the consolidation that's happening, and where I don't know that it's so much about impact and being in the work as it is of scale, which I think is why all the independents are really succeeding right now, because they're working in a very similar fashion to in-house teams. I mean, it's small crews working very upstream, working directly with the CMOs, and they're able to move with speed and put out a lot of amazing work. And I think that's the beauty of in-housing and kind of the model.
This is the In-House Podcast, a series where leaders in in-house marketing and advertising tell their stories. I'm Craig Tepper, co-founder of In.Studio, a digital production consultancy for in-house agencies. We're producing this podcast to create a community where best practices, advice, and hard-learned lessons from our friends and colleagues across the industry can be shared. Today we talk to Jeremy Jones, who's the head of creative at Wink, Mailchimp's in-house creative team. Over the past few years, Wink has been doing some of the most cutting-edge creative work of any in-house agency. In fact, Ad Age named them In-House Agency of the Year in 2023. Their recent Mailchimp Your Marketing and Clustomer TV campaigns were both developed in-house and are worth looking up. We'll include links in the captions. I talked to Jeremy about a bunch of topics in this episode, including his experience working both in-house and at traditional agencies, managing remote creative teams, the impact of Intuit's acquisition of Mailchimp, working with outside production companies, taking on outside clients, and building a support community with other in-house teams. Now, in his own words, Jeremy Jones.
I'm Jeremy Jones. I'm the head of creative at Mailchimp, Wink, which is our in-house creative team. Mailchimp is the number one email marketing and automations platform globally around the world. They help small and mid-sized businesses grow their revenue and ROI through kind of first-party data, with email being kind of at the center of that, and other tools like SMS. But primarily, we're helping folks grow, their customer size, their sales, their revenue, and we're part of the Intuit platform family of brands. We define Wink at Mailchimp as an in-house creative team. We've purposely left the moniker of agency off of the creative team part. We do say, though, we're technically Mailchimp's agency of record, but we try to leave there's still kind of negative connotations of what an agency maybe is or was. And so for us, since we are so embedded in the business and within the marketing org, we like to use the word team or creative team. We're pretty much full service, fully integrated. We're about 85 people in total. And we cover everything from your traditional kind of art and copy campaigns, advertising, to kind of world-class design, experiential. We have a lifecycle marketing arm. We have a full integrated ops team, producers. We have an editorial and content team. We have folks that specialize in original content and podcasting. It's pretty wide and it's really diverse, which makes it really exciting and gives us lots of opportunity to figure out how to solve our business problems. Within Wink, we do have a strategy arm as well. So think of your more like traditional planning and strategy background, content strategists, etc. In terms of media is in-house. It doesn't sit within Wink, but it does sit within marketing. And it's another arm of marketing that also utilizes agency partners, though. Like we still work with like the PhDs and OMDs of the world in our global markets. But the team is really central and drives a lot of the strategy and the planning. They're just not doing the actual buying. Yeah, the Wink team is spread out all across the country and a few parts of the world. And so most of us sit within the Atlanta office, which is Mailchimp's main hub, so to speak. And then we have a lot of folks in New York. And then we have folks in San Francisco, a few folks in London, as well as Toronto. At the moment, we're in the office 2 days a week, and we are remote the other 3 days that we choose to work. It's very flexible. We love our time together, but we also get a ton done away from the office. So it's a good balance. It's a good mix. At Mailchimp, we don't have a separate brand team. Wink is a part of the marketing org, and within the marketing org, we work directly with our brand marketing leaders and directors. And so there's no kind of distinction from us. We're all one team. We all work together. We're super integrated. Or I think that's the benefit and beauty of being in-house, is living so far upstream in the business. You're able to react. You're hearing the same messages, the same business problems at the same time. We just get to work so much faster. So it was an interesting time within Mailchimp. We were just acquired by Intuit. And at the time, the creative team was kind of split into three different functions that were kind of all on separate teams. So there was a marketing design team, a brand design team, a creative studio made up of motion designers and editors, photographers, and we were all kind of separate, but we were working together cross functionally all the time, and we were asking ourselves, why isn't this just one kind of unified team? So as the acquisition took place, our team moved from the experience design part of Mailchimp into the marketing org of Mailchimp, and at that time we said, let's unify under one t-shirt. We'll wear the same t-shirt with the same name on it. And so when we took the step back to do that, we looked at all the different possible solutions. Should we even give ourselves a name? Should we be a studio? Should we be a team? Should we be an agency? And that's when we were kind of going back and forth, but ultimately landed on Wink, which is derived from our brand mascot, Freddie, and our logo, the winking chimp. His full name is Freddie von Chippenheimer IV, for anyone that's curious. Whole backstory there. But yeah, that wink for us embodies everything that we do. It's kind of our connection to our customers. It shows them that we get them, we've got them, we understand who they are. We look at that wink. That can be many things. It can mean lots of different things for many different customers. And so we really embody it in everything that we do. And we always challenge ourselves to put the wink in the work, so to speak. Our marketing leader and CMO, Michelle Tate, was a big fan of our in-house creative team at the time, and she challenged us to come up with a name for what we were doing and all the work that we were putting out in the world, to give ourselves some credit internally, and to kind of celebrate the team. I think that's a big thing when you have an in-house team that's so different from the rest of the org. It is nice to kind of build your own culture. And so that was part of the reason for having the name, was really for us to identify with that and have the permission to create that culture that can lead to breakthrough ideas and different thinking, and challenging our business partners when we need to. Yeah, the team, when we unified under Wink, stayed the same size. We've experienced a tremendous amount of growth. I mean, we've gone from, I think when I started there was 20 plus people, to now close to 85, which is a mix of full-time employees as well as contractors. But yeah, we've grown and taken on more business each and every year. We align ourselves to the need of the organization and the business. And yeah, it's just really exciting to see the growth of the team and people, playing in different areas than they maybe thought were possible when they first started at Mailchimp, or maybe were legacy Mailchimp during the startup days, to see them now, leading different parts of the organization and working directly more with product marketers and designers in the product team. So it's been really great. I've been at Mailchimp going on almost 5 years. So I started pretty much day one of the pandemic. Like literally the first day, I remember walking in and they handed me a computer and they said, "All right, go home, and you will be building this brand new team from your house." So it was a little shock and a little awe. It was a little hard during that time of trying to build and unite this, brand new team who you haven't met in person. You don't know the little micro moments that they shared together in the hallways, or even get a sense of what that culture was. So it was really weird after about that year and a half, when you finally got to meet people in person for the first time. Folks were a lot shorter and a lot taller than maybe you thought. But yeah, it was interesting. It was super great. But I wouldn't change it for the world. It really united us during that time. Yeah, I think some of the biggest learnings, and to like build trust and just spending time with each other, was like just leaving Zoom on. like even if we weren't talking or working with each other, but just having the feeling of the folks being there, and then you could talk to them as if they were sitting next to you. I think a lot of us really leaned into that, of just having these kind of ginormous Zoom hangouts where not a whole lot was happening, but we could see each other if we needed to, or someone would say something and you could react to it. So as much as possible, trying to create that creative atmosphere that you would have within an agency, or sitting with your friends and peers, or having those conversations outside at lunch or on a smoke break, or in the middle of a walk to somewhere. So yeah, I'd say that was probably the biggest learning, was really just to try to figure out ways to spend time with each other, both like in the work and out of the work, just so because part of it's like just getting to know folks as humans and who they are, family, outside interests, and that kind of thing. It's kind of become natural. We just created this innate ability to work so fast across these new platforms. I think if anything we learned, we have to give ourselves a break, and really kind of get away from the screens is kind of where the magic happens. So I do think those days when we are in office and we can just stare at a wall, or stare at each other, we've kind of created those same environments that we were creating on Zoom, and we've now put them into what we have, what we call like maker spaces, at the office, where it's just a big long table we all hang out at with different tools kind of at our disposal. So yeah, we've kind of manifested some of those learnings into the real life, which was a big part of, as we were away and transitioning. Mailchimp was building a whole brand new building and office, which our team helped design, won an Architectural Digest award for. It was unbelievable what they were able to do and kind of extend their skill set into helping design and curate an entire new building from top to bottom. Yeah, prior to Mailchimp, I had a global role working for WPP and J. Walter Thompson, rest in peace. And then that became Wonderman Thompson. But I spent about 8 years there, working, leading lots of different businesses. Was an ECD when I left, and I was just traveling a ton, and kind of reached a point to where I was asking myself, what am I going to do next? Should I try and do something on my own? Do I go in-house? And as I was thinking at that time, this Mailchimp opportunity came about. I was always envious of the brand and curious of who was doing all of that work and who was behind some of that madness. And so when I met the team, it felt like a great next step, and a big challenge, which I was looking for, and an opportunity to kind of like really grow something and be on the ground floor with it, as opposed to being part of a big network agency where you can only do so much. And so yeah, it's been great. I wouldn't change my path for the world. I'd say folks that started an agency side and want to go in house, there's so many benefits to doing that. You gain so much, and you're able to work so fast coming from the agency side to in house. I think if you've only ever been in house, maybe you don't have the same kind of understanding and pace that you were kind of required to have working on the agency side. But it's great. I think it's probably different for every brand. Our brand really believes in the power of creativity, so it works. It's a big difference maker for us. I don't know that every business understands that or believes in that so far with their in-house, and there's lots of different in-house models. Ours is more agency, more traditional like, but we're really embedded in a lot of different facets of the business and the org. Man, if I knew what I know now, having been in-house versus the agency side, I don't think your clients are always thinking about you. There's so much that goes in the day for like the marketing team, and creative is just kind of one part of it, but it's always kind of their best part and their favorite part. I think there's so much hierarchy and unnecessary structure on the agency side, which limits the team to get to information faster, to work in a more cross-functional fashion. It's being in-house in the way that we work, I feel like, is such an unfair advantage. We're just so much in the know. We're in the product. We are inside the marketing org. We're hearing it at the same time, and our marketing partners are our peers. Like they're with us, but we also, when we need to put up kind of the invisible wall to do our thing, we do. and we still get to surprise and delight them with work that makes everyone smile. And so, I'd say the biggest thing is, I'm working inside a giant software company, not an agency, so they don't understand maybe all the time exactly what we need to do our thing and succeed, and just some of the back end of the way billing works or the way that you would bring on a production partner is just a little different. We try to eliminate as much hierarchy as possible. We only use it when it's necessary. It's really flat and frictionless for us. We don't have account people. Most of us, creative directors are kind of those account people that work hand in hand with our project managers and producers. Just that layer for us in our evolution so far isn't necessary. That's not to say we couldn't have them in the future, but I think, serving the single brand that we do now, Wink and then our marketing teams probably cover that role between the two of us. On the agency side, it's great to have tools and mechanisms in place like Scope, and to be able to say, well, if you need this extra new thing, it's going to cost you. You're going to have to pay for that in, our time, and there's a fee. So there's some protection that comes with that. Being in-house, we call it free ice cream is what it is, so to speak, right now, where you can kind of dip into us anytime you want to. Now, that said, we spend a lot of our time in prioritization, like really getting to what is coming down the pipe in terms of kind of business need and what we can staff to appropriately. And then we agree on that and kind of lockstep of like, this is it. We always go above that. We always leave ourselves a little room to do that too. So that's one tool that we put in place. We're looking at possibly like a wooden dollar system just to keep people honest and show like the value that we're bringing to the table. And so they understand with maybe decisions that they make or deadlines that we miss of just what that maybe would have cost. So yeah, it's just little things like that. I think every in-house agency probably does it a little different or has different tools. We're kind of, evolving just so we don't kind of rest on our laurels. We've had early success being an in-house agency of the year from Ad Age, and it was like, okay, whoa, how do we, keep improving? How do we keep evolving as the business grows, as we become more integrated into Intuit, who's got, 4 other amazing brands. So yeah, I think it's a constant evolution, and we're just, going with the flow of things. Yeah, I mean, right now there's work that we're doing across QuickBooks and Mailchimp mostly. With QuickBooks and Mailchimp, we're kind of in a similar family of serving small businesses. And so, there's the vision to kind of bring the Mailchimp and QuickBooks platforms closer together and more integrated to kind of serve the front of house and back of house in terms of kind of your finances, your payroll, as well as your marketing. And so that's really exciting. There's lots of work being done there, lots of strategy, lots of kind of experimentation. So yeah, and then as the other teams across Intuit evolve and have some in-house capabilities, we're kind of connecting all those dots and seeing how we can help each other. We've since created an in-house kind of creative council across Intuit just to keep each other aware of what we're all doing and how we can connect more of those dots and opportunities, whether it's within our teams to move across teams or just connecting across the work and partners that we're doing things with. Yeah, I think every year the demand is we kind of put it in ourselves. Michelle, our CMO, has this moniker of beat our best, and so we are raising the bar each and every year. And at the end of the year, we're always asking ourselves, man, how are we going to do it again? But somehow we end up doing it and achieving it. So we have a really high bar. I think that's the one thing with Wink. The expectations are high. We have very high expectations of what we can achieve as a team and then of each other. And we really kind of lean into that and keep ourselves accountable. And I think that's really what the difference is. We just really care. We love the brand that we work on. We love the people that we do it for, and we see that difference when we put it in the work. And I think when you're a marketing brand, marketing software to marketers, it's a very specific group of people, and so they're going to have an opinion, and we know that. So we always have to make it worthwhile. That was one of the things that I was questioning coming over to in-house working on one brand. I was managing and working across 8 different businesses, and the excitement of that was was awesome. Like I fed off of it, being able to turn off one client and then put myself in the shoes of another. So when I came over to Mailchimp, I think that quickly went away when you realize how much is actually going on within the business and what you can do and help with. And I think you get to spend, which I love so much, is you get to spend more time in the business actually solving problems, not just advertising problems, not just design, but like actual thinking through business challenges, our customers' problems. I think you really get to make change, which is really what drew me in even further. Is I'm seeing the direct output of what myself and my team can do in our customers in the bottom line. And, it's not just when I see it out in the world. So I think that's probably been the biggest difference. We haven't worked with an agency partner in probably 2 to 3 years in the term of like a creative agency. When we did work with agency partners, it was really like a release valve. It's just we didn't have the support or the capacity to kind of take on any more work. And so we had like previous relationships with folks that we would lean on and utilize. We have a lot of contractors now that we manage and kind of use in that same way. And currently we do work with like outside production partners and stuff, or go straight to tech partners and things to come up with interesting ideas, or to have them kind of build on our ideas in that sense. So, it's kind of from that side, we are kind of that agency creating those relationships with lots of different other creative companies. But most of those companies aren't really agencies as much these days as they are just creative production partners or technologists or things of that nature. We find most of our folks through referrals. We have one of our amazingly talented operations folks really kind of has taken on the role of recruiter, kind of resource management for the team. And it's a lot of folks and it's a lot of work. We have lots of folks that reach out that are very curious about Mailchimp that we'll meet with. We're always interviewing folks all the time just to kind of build up that Rolodex. And then from all of us that have worked in the industry everywhere, we all know somebody. I think as fast as we move, that's usually, how we find the best people that come in. Not everyone always works out. And so, I think that's the flexibility of having freelancer contractors is, you can try them out if they get it, or if they, find something and they want to move on. But a lot of our contractors stay on for a while. They love the team. They love the work, and they're really a big part of Wink and really have helped drive our success. Yeah, managing traffic is a great question. We do not have a traffic department. I think that is one thing as we evolve and we are outputting even more and more deliverables. It's in the thousands. It is a lot. We are doing that cross functionally between marketing and Wink. It has not been easy, and media. We are actually retooling that whole process now for us to figure out how to make it more efficient. I think that is definitely one area where we will grow and add folks to, is to have like an official trafficking department. We've taken on a lot of tooling to help us do some of that, to scale, deliverables into a lot of other countries and formats, and just, designing, localization, and just, creating one banner that can then scale across a system versus, creating all 2000. So just trying to get more efficient there, but yeah, really trying to figure out the best, and we're optimizing each and every campaign or with each and every project of, the best way to traffic all of those assets. But we have to give ourselves some grace there. It is no easy. So any traffic managers listening to this, please reach out. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the paid advertising that is being trafficked is, your fully integrated campaign marketing mix funnel, from video and television to all of the different social cuts and sizes and links, imaginable. And then we optimize all those with like a performance arm of our team. Our team's doing emails and all of the own channels and social. From that regard, we're producing podcasts and other original content. We do a lot of thought leadership, so a lot of different, experiences in terms of like thought articles and working with different partners and leaders in the industry to help, our marketing customers get better at their craft and learn a little bit more about our tools that can help them too. And then a lot of time is spent recently on our own events. So kind of having our big annual events in key markets like Australia and the UK for us, which takes on like a whole year's worth of work. But it's kind of your typical, creative agency outputs plus, the design side of things. But a lot of it is kind of in your more digital and traditional channels.
A great example of the kind of traditional creative agency output that Jeremy is talking about is Wink's Mailchimp Your Marketing TV campaign from late 2024. Here's a clip.
I just Mailchimp my marketing.
You Mailchimp your what?
I Mailchimp my marketing with AI to create a hyper-personalized campaign in minutes.
Oh yeah? I Mailchimped our way to more revenue using predictive segmentation.
No Mailchimpin' way.
Yes, Mailchimpin' way.
Oh ho, hey big guy, you Mailchimp to marketing.
You bet your Mailchimp I did.
Yeah, Mailchimp Your Marketing was our campaign. One of our business challenges is Mailchimp's always been thought of like an introductory kind of platform for marketers. Like it's a platform that you start with, but maybe not necessarily can grow with. And I think a lot of folks don't realize over time just how much the platform has grown and matured, especially since the Intuit acquisition and just the power of AI and all the data that Mailchimp sits on with the amount of volume of emails that we send and learnings that we have. And so we have a lot of advanced features and folks just don't know about them. And so the goal of this campaign was really just to show the kind of the cause and the effect, kind of the impact or the momentum that our platform can provide for folks and really leaning into the product to show that. And so in those spots, you kind of see, the different features that we're calling out, whether it's like an AI powered email builder or an advanced automation or new SMS kind of customer journey builder. You're seeing folks actually use the product so we can kind of show it in use and then the outcome of that. And the outcome of that is where we play into our absurdity. We have a brand archetype that we call the expert absurdist. And so we really strive to bring that to life in everything that we do, where you're always getting a sense of, Mailchimp being pro, but also looking at things from kind of a different perspective and really like pushing it to kind of make you take note. But also that's like where the wink comes in, right? Where we bring the absurdity to life in kind of a fun and unexpected way. For the campaign, for the Mailchimp Your Marketing campaign, we have kind of our traditional annual planning cycle, like any agency client relationship would have. Out from that came, kind of your typical brief. What we do is we call the first brief that marketing writes the marketing input doc. So we don't use the language of brief with that. We've learned everyone's got a brief, and it gets really confusing. And so we made the decision of that first brief is called the marketing input doc. That document comes to Wink, and then we take that document in, interrogate it, with marketing, sit down with our strategists and planners, and then Wink will create the creative brief and then brief in our team. And then the work will come from that. And then we just go back to kind of our marketing counterparts and show them where, how we're solving it. And from there, we kind of align and go into your kind of typical production process. For this campaign, we worked with the director, Katao Sakurai, who is with Pretty Bird, and we worked with Pretty Bird on the last few campaigns. They've been a really great partner for us. And we loved Katao because of his amazing timing and sensibilities, and just how he really understood the business. He's a big producer of the Eric Andre show. And for those that have ever watched that show, you can understand like the absurdity that comes from that show. And so Katao had this amazing balance of, really leaning in and showing our products, which maybe, some businesses might not think is always kind of the sexiest thing to put on TV, but then, showing that in a really impactful way. And then the result of that with these kind of unexpected sending marketers through the roof, having them fall upside down through an office, and all those kinds of things. And so it was a really great process. It was a really great shoot, and it's just we have the typical pitch process when we do work with production partners, going through treatments. Our team writes a treatment in the very beginning too, as opposed to just like sending over boards and scripts. I think there's a lot of nuance to our brand, and we've learned that directors have been really appreciative of the amount of time and effort that we put into kind of their briefing document so they get things right. And then, we let them know we're kind of here for them. And then, I feel like from my time on the agency side, it's probably even more collaborative. There's not the whole like song and dance. Like we're really straightforward. Like we're the client and the creatives at the same time in that part versus, when you're on the agency side, you're kind of translating what you think the client's going to want, but at the same time trying to get what you need and what your vision is too. And we're kind of able to collapse all that and be like, hey, what you're hearing is it. Like there's no extra stuff that we may have to solve later together. Like we've already kind of gone through that. And so that process I think has been a little different, but it's similar at the same time. And when we're on set, we're able to move really fast because we're not translating, 5 different people's inputs down the line to kind of that one line producer. We're right there. It's kind of one voice and we're all pretty united. So it's been great. We love it. And then at the same time as working with, Pretty Bird and, your kind of typical production partner, we also bring in kind of a more photography based content collection kind of crew. A team that we've worked with for a while now is called Breakfast for Dinner. And they're the ones that really come in and help us create all those assets that I was speaking to earlier about how to scale. And so when we come into these shoots, most of the work is already done. And so we know what kind of photos, what kind of content we're dropping into different layouts and formats. And it's kind of really having that plan in place so we're not wasting any time and we can move really quick. And everyone's on the same page. The evolution of AI has worked its way into our work streams in terms of like prototyping ideas and getting to ideas faster. Not necessarily, I don't think it's there just yet in terms of like the output and having like, AI in, your ads or leading the whole ads, but it's definitely part of the early on work stream to get to ideas faster. We use it all the time. It's amazing. We use it to create kind of mood boards and art boards and photography styles and just kind of train it on our very specific look and feel. Again, just so we have that bank and we can move at speed. Because a lot of times the ideas that we have don't really exist out in the world to like pull scrap from. Like the customer campaign that we had, was the idea of kind of putting this ball of people together. And, we were able to bring that to life in Midjourney in 5 minutes. And as soon as, our marketing partners saw that visual, it was like, yes, this is it. So it's been really great in that way.
The TV spot from the Clustemer campaign that Jeremy mentioned is really worth checking out, so we'll put a link in the episode description. It's a highly visual gag that features a giant ball made of customers all crammed together with their laptops, bike helmets, and briefcases. Here's the audio from that ad.
When marketers fail to differentiate their customers, the results can be scary. This customer is full of shoppers who haven't bought from you in a long time.
It's been a long time.
With Mailchimp, you can create highly personalized marketing across email and SMS to win back shoppers.
I'm back, baby.
Turn lost customers into repeat customers with Intuit Mailchimp.
The one thing I was worried about when we, were Mailchimp prior to the acquisition was All right, Intuit's coming in. Intuit has typically used agencies in the past. Are they going to be open to an in-house model? Will they embrace this team that they have and understand what they have and what we can do? And it kind of felt like a pitch a little bit in the beginning of trying to prove ourselves, show what we could do, doing creds presentations, presenting across the org to as many people as we could to let them know, what they were sitting on and who was here and all the talent that was in place, and really to just show them and prove that we could do it. I think my lucky stars for having a CMO like Michelle Tate. She was a huge champion of us early on and really helped us kind of succeed and be confident in the relationship between us and marketing, and then being a huge advocate for ours across the rest of the org, and just trying to get us as many eyeballs as possible within kind of a very matrixed organization. Wink has created itself quite the reputation, and so I think it's just trying to let folks know what we can and can't do, because we get asked if we can do a lot of things. I think in terms of success, we touch almost everything, and so you're kind of everyone's seeing it at the end of the day in everything that the brand does or puts out in the world, or even internally with how we're able to help with even little micro moments within the product. And so I don't know that we've kind of quantified the output. We do have kind of, stats of how many jobs we did or how many deliverables we had or time saved or like money possibly saved, which we report on. But I think, a lot of what we do is invaluable and maybe somewhat unquantifiable, so to speak, other than when you're looking at kind of the sales and stuff that's coming in. And it's nice to hear when Michelle's in podcast talking about how this team is her secret sauce. I think it's now how do we replicate that and make ourselves available for the rest of Intuit. It's funny. We've taken on a few outside clients with some pro bono work that we've done. We had a program that we developed called Free Agency, where we took on maybe struggling small businesses, or who folks maybe that didn't have the best kind of product design in terms of like, they were a mom and pop and just don't have those resources, or working with like a museum to help them out. And that was really successful. And I think, we're always looking to help kind of the greater community where we can and extend ourselves to help folks. So that's probably the extent of taking on kind of outside clients in that way. But within Intuit, there's already been amazing steps that have come out of Wink. One of our amazing leaders, Katie Potocny, has moved from Wink over to Intuit and now heads up kind of the Intuit brand and transformation team, which is kind of like their in-house creative team, which is just getting started. And so there's already kind of that connective tissue between Katie and Wink, and just more collaboration, more chatting, more talking, and just figuring out how all of each other's businesses work, because Intuit is a very large organization and the cornerstone brands are all very big number one brands in their own right. And it's how can we learn from each other and foster a new kind of marketing environment and go to market plan. I think the future of in-housing is so vast. I've been to a lot of in-house conferences, and the one thing that I've learned so far is everybody's like in a different part of the process. And so there's folks that have been doing it for a long time and have worked their way to where they're their own org, even outside of marketing, and have their own C-suite that is kind of valued. I look at like, Squarespace for that kind of example. And then, there's folks like us that feels like we're still in our infancy, just trying to figure out how we scale and get a little bit more structured and prepare ourselves for the future. I think there's folks that are just starting out that, or maybe, a handful of creatives, and marketing doesn't really know what to do with them yet, but they heard that maybe they should have in-house. And so they're trying to figure out that dynamic. Some folks are more operational led. Some folks are more creatively led. So it's really interesting space, I feel like, because I don't know that anyone's solved it or has figured it out, but I've learned that there's a lot of commonality and learnings that are the same. And so I feel like in the future, I'm hoping there can be more cross collaboration or connectivity across in-house teams. We're trying to do it ourselves in Atlanta, working with Delta's in-house team and Chick-fil-A and some of the other in-house folks around here, and just share what each other's up to and kind of, the walls and hurdles that we have, just so we can learn from one another. I think the creativity is and the work and the output is getting better. I think people are starting to understand the power of in-house. I think more creatives are open to going in-house. I think we all see how advertising is changing and the consolidation that's happening, and where I don't know that it's so much about impact and being in the work as it is of scale, which I think is why all the independents are really succeeding right now, because they're working in a very similar fashion to in-house teams. I mean, it's small crews working very upstream, working directly with the CMOs, and they're able to move with speed and put out a lot of amazing work. And I think that's the beauty of in-housing and kind of the model. I love how some in-house teams are taking on outside clients. I think that's fascinating. And I think there's a future there. I also think there's a future of kind of more consulting that happens within the space, of folks that come in and really help other businesses that are curious about it or want to learn ways to try it out. I think that's the one thing that you can do with an agency that maybe you can't necessarily do with in-house, is you can give it a try and then always kind of break up with that relationship, to where in-house, it's kind of a commitment. You're bringing on folks. So, I do think there could be some models where people arise as kind of a try in-house kind of incubator thing. So yeah, I think the sky's the limit. It's really exciting for me. I just love the opportunity to be able to talk about in-housing, share ideas and possibilities. I was in South by Southwest in Australia, and met so many other in-house creatives, and spoke on a panel, and it was just, we're all going through the same thing. So I think the more that we can kind of build community around it and learn from each other, I think there'll be a lot of innovation that comes from it. And I think we'll be able to prove its value and show a lot of the C-suite that we're not just here to do kind of brand design and advertising problems, but we can be a really big exponential partner in terms of business growth. So if someone's thinking of starting their own in-house team, the first question I would always ask is why? Why are you doing this? What is the benefit you think you're going to get out of this? Because I think it is kind of one of those, oh, it's really popular, let's just do in-house. But if you really don't have kind of the main three reasons why you're doing it, outside of the it's going to be faster, cheaper, etc., you might be looking at a different kind of in-house kind of team. I think you really have to be a believer in creativity, understand that it's going to be a different culture that needs to be fostered, but a culture that can influence the rest of an organization in a really positive way. So I think you just have to be open to understanding what that all means, and not kind of leaving people on an island and just, hiring a few folks to start. So yeah, I think it's just really understanding the kind of why and the how, because it sounds really exciting, but there's really a lot to it and a lot to unpack. Yeah, definitely give it a try, but definitely have your reasons for why you'd want to do it.
Thank you, Jeremy, for being so open to sharing how Wink has pushed what's possible with in-house creative. And check the captions for some links to their work. It's definitely worth checking out. And if you're interested in starting or expanding your own in-house capabilities, reach out to us at In.Studio. It's what we do. We're on the web at weareinstudio.com. We have a great group of in-house team leaders and creatives coming up in future episodes. Next time, Michaela Maloney of Ideal Industries. They're an over 100-year-old B2B company whose products have been used on every NASA mission, including the moon landings. And Michaela tells us how she built a fully remote content and influencer marketing team. Until next time.